Alright guys, welcome to 80s Love. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we are looking at a pretty sweet deck, but before we start that, I want to say thanks so much for all the comments, for the likes, subscribes. Truly do appreciate the comments, guys, just the engagement that we have as a community. But also when I screw up and I say things wrong, it's really nice that you guys come in kindly and correct me. And so I want to make a correction today. When I was talking about the Bones Brigade Series 14 Steve Cab, I had mentioned that it was the Mech Dragon. It is 100% not the Mech Dragon. I just quickly looked at it and just assumed that it was the Mech Dragon. And when you look at it, it is definitely not a Mech Dragon. So somebody corrected me and just pointed out that it's the Dragon on bearing. Some people call it the Bearing Dragon, and that graphic was released in the earlier 80s. So yeah, thanks for the correction on that, guys. Honestly, I appreciate it. Just do it kindly, but I want to do my best to convey the right information to you guys. So I do truly appreciate those comments, but outside of that, I just love the other conversations that we're having. The one other thing that I want to talk about before we get into talking about this deck, it has to do with this deck, but a lot of times people will see the Steve Cabs and or a Mike McGill and say that they're part of the Bones Brigade series. And so I'll see them advertised, you know, Steve Cab, Chinese Dragon, Bones Brigade series, and they're not part of the Bones Brigade series necessarily. So they are part, Steve Cab and Mike McGill are obviously part of the Bones Brigade, and they have decks within those series, but they also release a bunch of outside Bones Brigade series decks like this one. So this one is the 2022 reissue, is not part of a Bones Brigade series. We have seen this graphic in one of the Bones Brigade series, and that was Bones Brigade Series 9. It was the 30th anniversary, the Search for Animal Chin, and that's when this graphic and shape came out. Originally was 1986. Sorry, did I say 89? Anyways, it was 1986, so Series 9, and yeah, it was the 30th anniversary for the Search for Animal Chin. That hawk up there is part of Series 9, super rad series. But those were the shapes and colorways and graphics from the Search for Animal Chin in that series. And so we see this Chinese Dragon there, but it's a different colorway. It's black. But yeah, this is not part of Bones Brigade series. All right, so on that note, let's dive into this one, which is the Powell Peralta Chinese Dragon. So beautiful. I love this colorway. Wicked shape to it. This is the bird shape. And so this graphic and shape came out, this fish shape came out in 1986. The graphic was done by Vernon Courtlandt Johnson, which is no surprise. And the inspiration came from an Oriental takeout box, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so this, I mean, it's still so cabish, right? And, you know, just go. So this was 86. It was discontinued, this graphic, in 1987. So it is really cool that we get these reissues. Because otherwise we would never get this graphic again, and it was such a limited run from 86 to 87. This is the 87 here, the street with the bats and bones, or dragon and bats, whatever you want to call it, graphic. But yeah, so this is the 1986 one, and then to the 87. But yeah, all right, so let's get into the specs on this guy. This shape here is the 150. Oh, also, this came out in a full size and a mini back in the day. This is of the full size, reissue of the full size. So the deck shape is the 150. The concave on here, which you can't see that well because I still have the shrink on here, but is the SP3. The wheelbase measuring in between the trucks is 15 inches. The length is 30 inches. The width is 10 inches. The deck nose, which is not that big, is 3.875, and the deck tail is 7 inches. All right, so the truck holes on this, got my trusty Psycho riser. Let's put it up and measure it here. And it is the old school truck hole pattern, which is fabulous, makes it super authentic. Now, the one thing that isn't authentic about this board is the process for getting the graphic on. So back in the day, they would screen directly onto the board. Nowadays, they use the heat transfer process. So they screen onto a heat transfer, put the big sticker on, and then they heat it, and the ink settles into the board that way. But you can clearly tell sometimes, because with the heat transfer, there are times that the sticker will cover up the holes in the trucks, and it's not that they forgot to drill all the way through. It's just that there's a little piece of that heat transfer covering up the holes. That easily just blows out. It's like confetti. But yeah, outside of that, guys, that's pretty much it. We've covered it up. Now, if you're wondering what these stickers are, this one is essentially just saying it's made in Mexico or manufactured in Mexico. This one here is saying that it's using North America 7-ply hard rock maple for the construction material. And so, pretty awesome. All right, guys, well, there you have it. Be sure to come back because I've ordered some decks that are actually not Powell Peralta, which is outside the box a little bit for me. If you go back in some of my videos, you'll see other decks that are not Powell Peralta, but I do collect, a majority of my stuff is Powell Peralta. Maybe get into reasons why in another video, but anyways, come back and check out that because there's a couple boards there. I'll do the unboxing and it could be fun for a lot of you guys that are asking why you haven't seen that brand that often. And then also, I did manage to get my hand on some of the pre-orders for Bones Brigade Series 14, and so I have a few of them coming in, and I'll be doing the unboxing and running through the specs on those once I get them towards the end of June. All of us have our fingers crossed, hoping that those pre-orders actually come through. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for checking in, for following, for all the likes and subscribes. Have a fabulous week. Cheers.